Well, good afternoon, Game Show Network. Today we're going to do our Sinnoh flight review. I am H Nard, and I am the flight host here, and I'm joined by two lovely volunteers to help with the flight review. If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'll take the lead. My name is Isa. Well, it's not my name, but you can assume that it's my name. And I'm happy to be here and give my thoughts on these drafts.
Yeah, hi everybody. Rocker back at it again. Uh, Former admin taking a back seat this season. Happy to be here to help H Nard and go over these teams.
Yeah, so you guys want to jump right into it?
Let's do it.
Uh, okay. Let's start with the ambiguous alligators, with the captain being Jetio 4. Um, Uh, any highlights that you want to start with from this team? What stands out to you the most?
So I'm thinking, I know Jetsons previously, and I gave him some pointers for this draft.
Hmm.
Um, I think that he has a very solid top end with Samacenta Crown. I think that Mon is incredibly strong. So there are certain matchups, I assume, where that or the right set might just be able to do the whole team in. But on the other end, once you go up against those bulky ghosts, bulky poisons that you don't find quite the right coverage for, you're gonna struggle to get your clean sweep going. I think overall the team is pretty neat. He has a very high base stats overall. Not sure why Zoroark's stats disappeared on me, but I assume that they are very worthwhile. Uh,
Uh, oh no, are they not displaying correctly? Oh, they aren't. Oh, interesting.
that's how it goes.
Oh,
Don't delete
okay.
shit. um,
Zoroark has broken shit in the past. I don't know what's wrong with him on, but
I'll look into it after this.
It,
Um,
it's 125 special attack, 110 speed, I believe, and then
and
obviously
paper
defenses are
everywhere
Zoroark.
else. Yeah,
yeah, 60, 60,
yeah. But
55.
but yeah, overall, I like the aspect of the team in that sense. Like it's very high BST across the board. It's quite top heavy, which I like. Like I think you can make a good evaluation of a draft based on the top 6 months of a team.
Hmm.
The one thing I do find missing in the top 6 is a good Terra captain. There's only one Terra mon on this team, and that's Flagon. And like you can do things with Levitate and Dragon Dance, but the stats just aren't quite there.
I like Terra Normal Boom Burst. But I guess my first thing is I feel like this team after you're looking at Zamazenta Diancie, it kind of falls off offensively. Um, Zoroark will die to one hit, so I don't really like. It's good offensively, but I don't see it as a great third best offensive mon.
Hmm.
Um, and so that would be like that's the first thing I saw is like I feel like why are we drafting Screamtail and Mesprit when the team is already pretty fat even without them? You definitely don't need both. Um, that would be my big thing. But in terms of the top end, yes, I was into Torn, Diancie, Rotom Wash is a crazy top four. Um, that's where my head's at.
Yeah, I agree with you that Mesprit and Screamtail together feels very redundant. So you're probably never bringing both of those to a matchup. Um, what else is there to look at? I do think that most of the resists seem to be in order. There's Levitate, there's Solid Steel type, Solid Fairy type.
Like a lot of ground immunity.
Yep. Got Stealth Rocks. I guess you have spikes on Mega Diancie, but not really ideal. Uh, where's the hazard removal? I guess you have defog.
Oh yeah, with Tornadus, Rotom Wash, and Flygon gets to fog.
Yeah. So I guess it's okay, but probably not going to be a hazard stacking team, I guess. Wait,
No, I
is
don't
there?
think it was. I don't think it was designed to be that anyway, so I don't mind no rapid
Yeah, that's
spinner
fine.
here.
There's no grounded poison.
I feel like this team's going to struggle with poison types in general.
Yes, I would agree. There's only Screamtail, Flygon, Mesprit that can hit poison types or super effective. Only one of those would be like a mon that you invest your offenses into. And like if you go the Terra Normal Boomburst route, then probably not hitting very hard with like ground type moves. That base 80 special attack not really impressing.
Yeah.
Like I see Flygon more as a support kind of mon, maybe. Like you can do stuff with your typing, stealth rock, roost, U-turn, that kind of deal. So yeah, hazard game not ideal on both the offensive side and defensive side, I guess.
Any lasting impressions you want to make? Any last remarks before we move on?
I think the speed tiers are pretty good. There's a gap that leaves opponents open to running adamant nature. No, never mind. There's a Rotom Wash. Yeah, the speed tiers are good. I do think that's a solid point. What do you think, Rocker?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the typing coverage is pretty good. You get most of the base types you need or want. You don't need anything in draft league technically, but um, I I mean, I think your hazard removal's fine. My like rounding out. I genuinely just think you need more offensive breakers here to help Zamazenta in the end game.
Yeah.
A more offensive ground. I mean, Terra Ground Flygon is a thing, but I feel like a more offensive ground would probably be more helpful here.
Yep.
And that would be my final thoughts. But I think you did a great job. Good team.
Yeah. Very cool.
Okay. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to, I believe, Best of Hoenn
Yes.
by Drazor. What stands out to you for this team? I know it's a pretty gimmicky team.
It is. Almost monogen. So, I mean, that's obviously going to stand out, right?
It is monogen, isn't it?
Not
I believe it
Magneton.
is. Oh
If
no, not Magneton. I
if
guess it's what's his name? Ace in Emerald.
right.
But
Going for the theme draft, and obviously, quality is gonna suffer a bit, but this team is not designed to, be optimal. So it's kind of like, are we evaluating it on a scale or whatever? But yeah, it's obviously like there's not really a strong top end with like you have Terra Salamence, which is cool. You have already from that point on, it's quite a steep drop off to Mega Gardevoir, and then the third best mon is a regular Metagross. So you
How many
definitely
points
see,
does he have left over?
the 18 points left over. Yeah.
yeah, like I understand that the confines of his theme made this difficult, but yeah, you have a Torkoal without any Sun Abusers.
Hey, he's got a camera up.
Yeah, there's a camera
Yeah,
up there.
sure thing.
I don't know. I feel like there's not much. Like Drazor knows the flaws of his team, and I don't feel like we're giving him much by talking about this team. I kind of just want to move on.
I guess I'll mention quickly that there is some degree of hazard and some degree of hazard removal. There is some degree of typings being spread. Like I do see some semblance of a Steel Fairy Dragon Core if you glance. But yeah, I kind of agree. This team was not built to be uh, inherently competitive. It was built to match a theme, which is
Yeah.
fine, but you should probably judge it on that axis.
Yeah.
I guess
And
the only
hey,
comment I want to make is the speed tiers are going to struggle.
Yeah. Top speed 100 is not so great.
Okay. Well, let's move on.
We shall move.
Uh to Beast Brawlers.
Yeah.
Do, do, do. Just copying it over to my little prep doc.
I do think
So,
that... No, go on.
oh, go ahead. I was going to introduce it. It's Beast Kid is the coach for this team. And what stands out to y'all? Well,
I think this is kind of the opposite in some sense to the alligators, in that all of these mons have quite low BST, or not all of them, but they're like a lot of these mons are quite niche in their applications. You have Regieleki, which is obviously very much a one-trick pony. You have Ribombi, also kind of a one-trick pony. Toxapex, it's a very good one-trick pony, but you're never gonna sweep with that thing.
Samurai Hisui is pretty much a one-trick pony. It's a pretty good one, but
Yeah.
mhm.
So I think that I think this team commits a cardinal sin of going too broad and not focusing enough on any one thing. Like you can see on the points, we're looking at a 11 mon draft here, and the points are quite equally split. That means that you're gonna put a lot of your points on the bench every game you play, and that means that you're gonna lose out on value. So I think this team could have been more top heavy as a general thing.
yeah, I mean, I just think going along with this sort of one-trick pony thing, I think the one-trick ponies are also very predictable because they're one-trick ponies. And I think prepping against this team is going to be how can I beat Valiant? Do I have a ground type? And then just can I beat these niche things? Can I beat Sinnoh clicking the button? Can I beat Quiver Dance for Bombi if it does it? Can I beat Oricorio setting up? Like they all do one thing, which I think sort of locks you into a box of which. I mean, you bring these 6 mons, you know what you're going to do with the 6 mons, but so does your opponent, which I think is not great in draft league. My biggest thing for draft league is versatility. I always think the more versatile a mon is, the better it is in general. Obviously, not across the board, but I mean, Iron Valiant's the best mon in draft league because of how versatile it is to me. It's either that or Dragapult, but I don't know. We'll see how he uses it. I think he's got a lot of individually really good mons. Could do well, but I think he'll struggle because people will know what he's doing.
Yeah. I will note one thing, which is that I don't think this team has stealth rocks.
No, I don't think he does.
So it does have spikes, and it has, I think, 2 sticky web setters. And Toxapex gets toxic spikes. So, there's everything else under the sun. But not having stealth rocks will make you suffer against certain flying types. Like Moltres would not be
Yeah, there's no
displeased.
reason for a flying type to run boots ever.
Yeah. So you're giving away some flexibility to your opponent by not having any stealth rock setter on your team.
They don't. There's also not a lot of hazard removal. Like Rabombi has the fog, but you want Rabombi to do other things.
Yeah, I think Chinchino gets what's it called?
Yeah.
Oh, tidy up.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the one.
Chinchino does tidy up shenanigans.
Yeah,
I forgot about tidy up.
but
That's a
it's
good point.
not what you want to do. Regieleki does get rapid spin.
Does it really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's one of the things that make Regieleki usable.
But yeah, if I'm going against this team, I'm probably loading Terra Ground, and then I'm happy. There's a lot of weakness, like Pex, Skeledirge, Regieleki, 3 of your top mons weak to ground.
I mean, his ground resist are Ribombi and
Oricorio.
Lurantis and Rabska. And
Oricorio was,
Oricorio.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like on paper, that's 4 resist/immunities, but none of them are all that sturdy.
Particularly good or bulky.
Yeah.
So defensively speaking, the Peck Skeledirge core is gonna have to lift a heavy load, but because they share a common weakness, it's gonna be tricky.
And both hate being knocked off.
Yes.
I do think the team would have appreciated a steel type somewhere too.
Yes.
Yeah. On the positive side of things, the top end of the speed tier is definitely covered for with Regieleki, but even if you bench that, you got Ribombi, you got Chinchino, you got Iron Valiant with potential booster energy. Um, yeah, in practice, I think it's gonna come down to can you get probably webs and then try to wear your opponent down for a Valiant sweep. And this team will have its success determined by how successful it can be in doing just that, is what I think.
Yep.
Any last comments or ready to move on?
I think I'm ready to move to the next one.
I think
Okay.
I'm ready as well. Yeah.
Next we have Brutally Honest Butterfreeze by Cam Cart.
This is a bit different in that it's definitely more like if you look at the top 6, it's very focused by comparison, and you got some important traits within there. You got a steel type, you got flying or a flying type, plus a levitator. You got strong Terra captains. So I do think you got solid hazard setters in Gliscor, and I mean I guess you could use your Mega Garchomp for that as well. Um, you got some hazard removal with defog, but you would have preferred rapid spin given that you have a Goldengo. Like there are
Tatsugiri has rapid spin, I think.
Sarud. I don't think so. No. Um. So yeah,
Tatsugiri might get it.
maybe, but I don't think that's a mon you want to bring that often.
Yeah, Tatsugiri does get it.
Okay. I mean, I guess that lets you check the box on the paper.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying if you're bringing hard hazard stack one week,
Mhm.
I think bringing Tatsugiri isn't bad. I actually kind of like Tatsugiri as a low point mon.
Yeah, I mean, for being a low tier, like cheap budget pickup, it's not the worst. But you probably don't want to bring it every week. You can do it for certain matchups. But yeah, I do think this is a better team than the one we just looked at. I think it has a lot of firepower with Terra Goldango, you got Mega Garchomp, you got Blissifalon. So definitely makes the opponents quiver in their boots. The speed tiers, the top end
Yeah,
of the speed tiers are not that great though.
yeah, I was gonna say that 110 as your fastest mon is not ideal in Gen 9 meta.
Agreed.
Like Weavile, I think can run Adamant against this team, which is not great.
Not quite. 110 does outspeed,
Mhm.
but even
Oh, it's by
so,
one BP. It's by one BP. Yeah.
but it's not that hard for like only ever so slightly faster mons to run that attack boosting nature and get away with it. And like more so, the Scarf opportunities on the team are not superb. You can run Scarf Blissifalon, uh, which is not bad, but it's weak to Stealth Rocks. So that does put higher demands on your hazard removal. And as we covered, they're not ideal. You do have defog, but you would like to not press it.
Yeah, I like Scarf Lottie. I like Scarf Zarude.
True, Scarf Sarud can actually do something. It's not Terra because it's banned, but I do think that there is some merit to Scarf Sarud with U-turn. Just gotta find a way to, without Terra, you lack some coverage on Sarud.
Yeah.
Press Dark, not ideal, but I guess there's not one type that resists both, so could be worse. But yeah, I
The
think this team is pretty solid overall. It has a lot of the things that I look for in the team.
I feel like the team doesn't want it's weak to knock off pretty badly.
I mean, this score just has to lead and click protect.
Yeah,
And then
it could have been worse. I do think that there's one issue, which is opposing ghosts look like big trouble. There's only one resist, which is Sarud. And generally speaking, you don't really want to have your soul dependency carry a quad weakness because it's so easy to tech for it.
I was gonna say opposing dragons look like a problem because most dragons get ground or fire coverage to hit the steel, and your fairy is a Dutch fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fairy was definitely skimped on a bit. That could have been better. I think Sarud, like non-Terra Sarud, I probably replace that if it's me and get better fairy type in there. Preferably one that resists ghost as well, which leaves basically just Grimmsnarl, I guess. Uh, but yeah, there are some flaws to this team, but I still think that it's pretty solid. You can definitely do worse.
Agreed.
Hella special attackers on this team.
Actually, one thing that I just noticed, look at the speed tiers. They only cover 82 to 110. That's
That's
incredibly
wild.
tight range.
That's wild.
I've never seen that actually. That's incredibly tight.
82 being your slowest bot is crazy.
Yeah. Like, and then 110 as your top end. Like, I think diversifying the speed tiers would have been preferable.
I'm more blown away by 82 as the slowest mon than anything else. Why do you even do that?
It
Not
does
worth
take
wrapping.
it takes some vision. It's also funny because none of the mons have a shared speed tier. So somehow you found 10 different speed tiers in
You think
like
it's intentional?
I don't know, but I'm kind of impressed. That is actually a highlight. I'm not sure if it's a good thing, but it is funny.
Yeah, agreed.
Actually there are two base 95s. Never mind. God damn it. Almost. But yeah, the speed tiers
No,
could
another reason to drop Dash Bun.
yeah, the speed tiers could do with some tweaking.
Any last comments
Uh,
for?
I'll say this team was funnier than I thought.
Okay, let's move on to Columbus Comfy by Jacob.
How many Columbus teams do we have in the league?
Way too many.
I think there's 3. I mean, there's 2 in Sinnoh.
There's 3 in Kanto.
There's the Metacham.
There's 3 Ohio teams in Kanto. They're not Columbus.
Oh, let's see. No, there's only 2 Ohio teams.
Did we lose an Ohio team?
No. Sorry, I was looking at Sinnoh.
Anyway, looking at this draft, you certainly got some firepower with Mega Metasham. You got Weavile, you got Terra Thunderous, which is a solid captain. I guess it does fall off a bit from there, though. Although you could certainly do much worse. Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of love this team. I think Metacham, Weavile, Thundi, T, Terra offensive core is breaking probably every wall in the game. Empoleon, Petulant, Moltres is a very, very solid defensive core that follows all the roles you need. Empoleon's a slow pivot that clicks Stealth Rocks. Moltres, you got Flame Body, you got Defog, you got U-Turn. Petulant, I mean, actually all 3 of them can pivot, which is pretty impressive. And then Serena and Cyclezar are both hazard removal that only gets rid of your opponent's hazards, which allows you to keep your sticky webs of Galvantula up. I think the synergy behind this team was actually pretty good because you want a Weber with Metasham, and I think Galvantula is a good choice because it fits a nice speed tier for this team.
Also got a ghost that can reliably spin block to keep the webs around.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
No, go on.
I really like this team.
Yep.
This is definitely my favorite team we've looked at.
I do miss a fairy type. There's only one dragon resist, which is Empoleon. And like Empoleon's cool, but it's weak to some common coverage like ground, like electric.
Fighting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's not so difficult to find the proper coverage move to break through with Strong Dragon. That being said, you can still revenge the dragons with priority ice moves from Weavile. So it's not the end of the world there. But you could find yourself in hot water versus certain dragons, I think. Of course, Terra Fairy is an option on Thunderous, and it is a Terra Captain that you're gonna bring more often than not. Um,
Are the special defense mons on this team worrying or?
oh, that's a good catch, actually. Yeah, there's like Moltres can maybe run some special defensive set. Empoleon can as well, and both get recovery.
Napoleon's main is usually a Spadef wall. That's
Yeah.
usually what people run it as.
Mhm. But it's not the stats are okay, but not great. I think for
Mhm.
Empoleon. Uh, how's the hazard removal on that note? You do get defog from Moltres. You have rapid spin on Serena, but you don't really want to
Spin on
defog.
Cyclozar as well.
Mhm.
True.
Cyclozark.
You do want to run rapid spin, I think, if you're gonna be a webs team. Um,
I
Yeah.
think
mm,
Serena and Cyclozar are both pretty reliable spinners. They can at least get their spin off.
yeah, but you do have to like if you're running rapid spin and you're running sticky web on this team, that means you're benching 2 of your top 6. Which it's okay, you can do that sometimes, but you don't want to do it every game.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Even so, I genuinely agree with you. This team is probably the best we've looked at so far. I think it has a cohesive identity. It is built pretty well around a certain core idea. You even have Pursuit to help remove annoying psychic types and ghosts for the benefit of Mega Medicham. I think that is a very strong inherent idea with it contained within this team.
I will say I wish they had a second. I wish they had another rocker and probably
Yes.
something that spikes.
Yeah.
Empoleon's the only rocker on the team.
Hmm.
Um,
It's not very flexible in that regard, and I don't think anything gets toxic spikes, but that's not so important.
I don't think so, but I don't
No.
think it really matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
This team doesn't like stealth rocks either.
True. I mean, Moltres, you're gonna run boots. Weavile, on the other hand, really would have preferred to run a non-boot item, and you're gonna do that sometimes, but it's not ideal. Same story with Thunderous.
Cool. Any last comments or concerns or highlights that you would like to point out before we move on?
It's a cool team. I like this one.
I really like this team. If I could give one piece of advice, I might consider dropping one of the 2 spinners and picking up a fairy. But I like the team.
Perfect. Let's move on to our second Columbus team in Sinnoh Columbus Scissors from Jacket.
So this is a Sun team with only Mega Charizard Y as a Sunsetter. So that's
Yeah.
gonna be a very big problem, I think. Um,
Don't
Me-
tell
Thank you.
Butts that. Um,
Mega Charizard Y is incredibly strong as a nuke, but it is not a great team support mon. It requires support to do nuking. It is not a mon that you use to support other nukes. But this team is built in a way that demands Torkoal or Ninetales, or even Vulpix.
yeah, and that would save you points as well.
Yeah. Again, like Yardizard is super strong, but it's not the correct pick for this team as the Sunsitter. And
Are there no Terramons on this team?
that's also really
No.
weird. What's
Is
going
that a
on there?
mistake?
Not. No, I reminded Sinnoh multiple times, like, hey, get your Terramons in before the start, and they elected not to. So
I
there are no
think
Terramons on this team as of now.
I think that should probably be reconsidered.
Yeah. Terra your Venusaur, please.
I think the even more important though is dropping Amon and pick up Ninetales. We know that Torkoal was occupied by the best of Hoenn team. I'm not sure if Ninetales has been drafted, but if not, I highly recommend getting Ninetales here. If Ninetales is added to the squad, then it looks like a pretty solid Sun team. But outside
Yeah, I
of
mean,
Sun, there's some struggles, like the speed tiers aren't there, at least not on the top end. In Sun, that's not a problem. You have Chlorophyll, Venusaur, you got Walking Wake that's gonna outspeed shit. But yeah, you need reliable Sun.
yeah, I mean, another problem I have with this team, especially outside of Sun. I mean, Sun teams often have this problem. They're kind of it's hard Sun or lose. Um, but I guess what I would say is you're you're not going to have a long game with this team. If the game lasts long, you're losing this game because your reliable recovery is Synthesis Venusaur and Roost Charizard Mega Y, and I think that's it. Does Yan Mega get Roost?
I think so,
Uh,
but I would
Okay,
not
I mean, I'm
spend my
not
time on
considering
that.
that real. I'm not considering that real.
Likewise. I don't really see the merit of the Yanmega on the team either. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't either.
Yeah, I don't think it adds what the team really needs. I think Hitmontop was added as a consideration that, okay, I do need hazard removal for my Mega Charizard, but
mhm.
it's not good enough to be your sole source of hazard removal.
Hitmontop and Cloyster are
Yeah,
his hazard removal. Not
true.
good enough.
No, you would
Yanmega
need
technically
something
gets the
better.
fog.
Yeah. I think Sun teams usually include Hatterene to get that magic bounce and be like the proactive hazard removal.
Yeah, the OU teams do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also see it commonly on draft teams. I think that could be a cool consideration. Probably
How
over
expensive is
Cornerstone.
Espeon?
Yeah.
Yeah, Espeon. The type matchups are not great for this team.
How so?
Just very weak to fairy, rock, ground, flying, electric.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of rock. There's only one rock resist, right, in Hitmontop?
Yeah, the Hitmontop.
I think Edge Quake is a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, plenty of ground weaknesses, and Yanmega and Yardizard as your primary ground immunities means that you're ripe for coverage. Quad weak to Rock Slide. No
Mhm.
need for Stone Edge,
Your ground resists that don't die to Rock Slide are Golisopod.
which is also weak to it.
Yes.
Uh, probably.
But it won't die.
Yeah.
It won't die.
Levitate Mon might be ideal.
Any last comments? Anything else that sticks out to y'all before we move on?
I mean, it does have the Firewater Grass and Steel Dragon Fairy Core down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't put a lot of emphasis on it, but it's there.
I wish there were better setup sweeper. I mean, I guess you got Shell Smash Cloyster,
I think
but
the
other than
setup
that,
sweepers are quite fine. You got Venusaur in Sun, potentially. You got
well, I'm
Mind
thinking
Breaking Bolt.
I'm thinking outside of Sun
Yeah.
to use the screens.
Yeah, I think the screens are kind of mismatched. I don't think you have the time
That's
to run Sun and screens.
that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay. On that note, let's move on to the international Impy Dimps with Impy Carry.
This is an interesting team. What's going on here? I mean, I like the top end. I like Great Tusk. I like Greninja.
I like Tusk, Greninja, Scissor, Hatterene, even Terra Garg.
Not so big of a fan of Terra Garg personally, but you got Terra Greninja. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't really understand why Arctivish is spending 5 points on this team. You don't have a
Yeah,
you don't have a snow setter. What's the point?
not entirely certain. Um, but there is firepower in the top end, but I kind of wish for. Like Greninja is very flexible, and I know you value that, but it doesn't really have raw power so much. Especially on battle bond sets. Like once you get a kill, then yeah, you're golden. But before that, your attacks are not super strong. Like you got 103 special attack. That's not so much. Hatterene, very high special attack, but because it's so slow, you don't really get to fire off that many attacks with it. And then it's Great Tusk and Scizor, and they're cool, they're strong, but both of them kind of rely on coverage to a certain degree, or because Great Tusk, very strong stab moves, but both are resisted by flying. So you'll need some kind of coverage for that. Scizor, high attack stat, but you want to be clicking Bullet Punch, which is not super strong inherently. So I think, and Mega Man 135 special attack sounds good, but you're item locked. So in reality, it's not that strong, and it's tough to get it in because it's so frail.
Yeah, I guess my problem with this team that I'm looking at is your defense. You're gonna be locking mons like Scissor and Hatterene into defensive roles because other than Garg, your defense is Celebi.
Yeah. Special attacks, like Cryogonal is the special defensive wall, and that's not where you want to be, really.
Right. So I think you're going to be locking Scissor and Tusk in defensive roles when you want them to be these offensive breakers on this team. And Hatterene too. I also think you might want another slow pivot with Scissor to get Mega Man and Grin in, especially with people having lower with the Grin, people having lower health, so it can pick something off.
Yep.
I don't know. I just feel like there has to be a better way to use those last 4 picks to make this team more well-rounded.
I do think that the team displays an interesting idea. Like you have Greninja as some kind of endgame sweeper, potentially Scizor as an alternative option with Sword Stance Bullet Punch. You have Great Tusk as one of the best supportive mons in the game if you want to go that route. You also have Hatterene to provide some support, Garganacl to provide some support. I do think that the top 5 create a cohesive story of how you want your game to be played. But I think that the latter 5 picks do not necessarily enhance the strengths of the team. But I think the core idea is very interesting and has a lot of potential. I just wish that it was executed in a slightly different way.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think we can move on.
Yeah, I'll just note that we do see rapid spin on this team on an actually good mon, which I think is the first one. So you got anti-hazards, you got stealth rocks, you got spikes, you got toxic spikes. So pretty good on that side. Even got a.
I will not take this Serena slander.
Any last comment?
Serena is a good mon. We can move on.
Okay,
Let's move
Los
on.
Angeles Lucarios by Ash.
Right. This team feels like it has a couple of things going on here.
Well, true. A lot of water.
Yes. I count 1, 2, 3, 4 water mons, but only 2 real ones.
2 of them
Yeah.
are not coming.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently he brought Surskit, so I should not say anything.
Yeah.
I
But
say Circuit's been brought, so.
Yeah. I guess we can't count it out.
Mhm.
I think the top end here is really powerful. Sneasler, Zeraora, Celesteela, you're really giving your opponent like these questions that they need to answer in the team builder. Like those 3 are very powerful mons. Zeraora with incredible top speed from the get-go and some really strong moves like Plasma Fist, Knockoff, Close Combat. Sneasler, we all know what Sneasler does, and in a meta where a flying gem is legal, that's no terrain necessary. Celesteela, very good mon, very flexible, solid stats, just don't look at the speed stat. But then, like, what's going on after that?
yeah, I feel like he went into this draft with one plan, and he's like, I want a Mega Swampert.
Yeah, I'm a rain team now. Wait, what? Like,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, like the pivot after the first 3 picks is very surprising. Like Megapert, and then you get add Politoed to kind of justify it, but nothing else really benefits from rain. Like usually, at least your electric type benefits from rain, but Zeraora does not. You're not gonna click Thunder with that mon. You're not gonna click Hurricane. You're not
Definitely
gonna.
not clicking Hurricane, no.
No, not clicking Weather Ball. I think Clefable is.
Your flying doesn't really benefit from it either.
No. So what's the rain doing here? Cleavor as your like dedicated stealth rocker is also not my favorite because Cleavor is kind of bad and sometimes your rocks miss.
I mean, Clef can rock.
It can,
Does-
but if you're running Cleavor, that's gonna be a rocker. And
Yeah,
then,
that's a fair point. That's
yeah,
a fair point. Yeah,
and then you're running Cleavor, so you're already getting punished.
It's
we
not
ate
good
Cleavor.
hazard.
We ate Cleavor.
Yep.
I don't know.
Cleaver is also your hazard removal with Defog, but there's no rapid spin or
I'm
something.
actually, in general, in draft, I'm a big fan of weather options if they're not sort of getting in the way of the rest of your team plan. Like, I don't like hard weather teams, but I also don't like this because it's not your top end mon should not need weather on a soft weather team, but should benefit from it. Now you're running you're spending 23 points on a Mega Swampert and 2 mons
Yep.
is what you're doing.
Also, the
You're wasting.
Politoed
That.
Terra Captain.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. You could tear your Celesteela. I don't know what you're doing.
But yeah, I think this team started out on a high and then got weird. We do see Steel type, we do see a Fairy type, that's cool. We do see a Grounded Poison. We do see Stealth Rocks on multiple mons. No spikes though. I don't know. I think the speed tiers on this team are also kind of lacking. You have very high top end, then 2 mons at 120, even if Wug Trio is fake. And then you're in a big gap down to 85.
85. Yeah.
Cleaver.
Yeah. So you're leaving a lot of space for a lot of common mons in like the 100 to 110 range to run Adamant without issue.
If you drop, if I think I think this team can be really good if you drop 3 Pokemon and pick up 3 new Pokemon. I'm not gonna say. I mean, 2 of them are obvious, but just like pick a third. Pick a third and try to fit the roles that you're sort of missing. Which I would just say is a defensive, um, like a defensive backbone behind Clefable that has reliable recovery is probably the first thing I'd look at. Maybe a bulky water because if you're dropping Politoed, you probably want a real bulky water. And then something in that 100 speed tier range.
Yep. I do think Clefable is not sufficient. Like, the stats are just not there anymore. It's been 9 generations since it was introduced, and 95, 73, 90 just isn't that great. The move pool is great, but sometimes you just get overpowered by even neutral hits. You
I
don't.
love Clefable. I don't think it's good enough as your sole reliable recovery, though.
No. I mean, Celesteela is there to like grant you that incredible defensive typing, but it's not always gonna cover
And it's going to get withered down over a game is the big problem, I think.
for sure.
Any last comments, concerns, or highlights you'd like to point out?
I think Terra Regidrago is cool. That can probably do something.
I want to see Wug Trio come to a game.
Okay, we're moving on to Pickle Porridge FC by Pickle.
Solid team name. Um,
Cocoa Bundle Treads.
yeah, I think that this team. I look at the top 4 and I'm like, hell yeah. And then I see a Terra Pelipper.
Yeah.
I do think that obviously Tapu Koko plus Iron Bundle, incredible core.
Already.
Yeah, like bundle in terrain. If you can run modest specs, like you have treads to support that, great spinner. Then you're just firing off nukes.
Yeah, I actually like Pelipper on this team. I don't know why you teared it, but I like it on the team. Because Coco as I was saying, I like soft rain that benefits. Coco Bear benefits from rain. Bundle benefits from rain. Scissor Mega actually heavily benefits from rain. And then Treads likes rain. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know why we're tearing the Pelipper. Is it free? Was it free to tear a Pelipper?
I think it might have been.
Yeah, I think so. But
okay, then maybe he's just trying to Terra Okidogi and just using whatever his free Terra was.
Yeah.
It is free, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably what's going on there then.
Yeah, fair enough in that case, I reckon. This team does have very cool offensive synergy. Defensive synergy, I think it's kind of wonky to rely on Pelipper as a defensive backbone. I see the vision, but it's quite frail.
I mean, it'd be Pelipper Treads Grapple, I guess.
Yeah. Just don't run into opposing freeze dry for your defensive core. Though there is Scissor Mega. So, honestly, this team looks very unconventional with a random Pelipper, but I respect the vision here. I think this is a very cool team. I think this can go far. I think you've spec'd into a lot of offensive firepower, but you also have a cool bench that is very focused. Like you have Sableye with good utility options. You have Gorbis for the surprise rain sweep. And Cutifly, like, oh, my opponent for some reason has really, really bad hazard removal. I'm gonna put some webs.
So I'm going to run the Sash webs.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah. I think it makes sense from that perspective. I think the speed tiers are a bit lacking. There's only one Mon between 130 and 84, and 84 is if I count Cutifly. So there is definitely things being left on the table there with regards to like the range you're giving out to your opponent to run adamant or whatever. But I think that is an acceptable flaw. I guess there's no
Yeah.
spikes.
No, there's no spikes, and the only stealth rocker is Iron Treads.
Yeah, that's a bit lacking as well. Like, you don't necessarily need spikes, but it's nice to have as an option. You would really prefer to have more than one stealth rocker. It's not great to be like locked into the same, like Treads would like to run booster energy sometimes, maybe not with Coco,
Yeah,
but running assault vest, running an offensive, yeah, choice band
it
or
doesn't want to.
whatever.
It doesn't want to be locked into the. It can do support role very well. It does not want to be locked into the support role. I think it kind of is on this team, not just because it's the only rocker, but because it kind of has to be a defensive backbone piece with this team.
Yes.
And just the way it's designed. I mean, it's fine. I like my versatile moms to be able to use their versatility, and I think it is kind of locked into a role here.
Yeah. I do think there's also one issue in that you're kind of forced to having Treads as both your rocker and your rapid spinner. And like some mons can get away with it, but you do push a heavy emphasis on doing literally nothing offensively when you lock into those two roles on the same mon.
Rocks, rapid spin, volt switch. Oh, I've got one move left.
Yeah, pretty much. Nevertheless, I think this team is cool. There are some flaws to it, but I think it's easily an upper half team. I would absolutely expect this team to, if it's pivoted well, I would expect this to make the playoffs and potentially be a contender for the title.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what Piccole is cooking in the kitchen in other drafts.
The once again about the special defensive side here, the highest mon is Mega Scizor with 100, and then the next highest is Okie
Yeah,
Dokie.
but I think it's kind of okay in a sense because this team is built around heavy firepower. And then you have some temporary stopgaps that are meant to pivot in and pivot out and enable your primary offensive core of, well, offensive mon of Iron Bundle. I do
You also have
think.
some of the best AV users in the game. Now I'm not sure how often Treads uses it here, but I do love AV Treads. And then AV Drapple, AV Dogi with Terra is pretty good.
Yeah.
Even AV Coco has utility. I think it's not as bad as it looks, but yeah, it could be bulkier on the split def side for sure.
One
Good
thing
point. Those are great points.
Yeah, one thing I kind of miss is the immediate offensive firepower from non-bundle mons. Mega Scizor has 150 base, but we all know that Mega Scizor isn't that strong immediately speaking. It's gonna click U-turn, it's gonna click bullet punch, low base power moves. With utility, but not with immediate firepower.
Yeah, Okie Dokie is not particularly fast, but it does have some immediate firepower.
But it also has easily resisted stabs.
Yeah.
You put a poison type up against it and you're pretty fine.
Any last comments
Alrighty.
or observations?
Oh, I think I've said my piece.
I think we've talked enough, yeah.
Sounds great. We're going to go to Portland Porygons with Cam.
This has some spice.
Another speed tier issue off the bat.
Yeah, there is a lot of overlap in the speed tiers, that's true.
And top end is 115 and it's off a fake Pokemon. So
Megaladios, Terrapagos, they do contribute to both offenses and defenses. Iron Hands, same story there. Manaphy, I don't think is too great. You're very much like Tail Glow is a good move, but if your opponent preps, then they can make you regret that choice. be it through Mirror Herb or Fast Encore.
Can someone tell me why we're drafting Shuckle on a team with no ghost type?
Yeah, I do think that we've seen that issue elsewhere. Like, maybe not in the teams we've overlooked so far so much, but in order to run certain archetypes, you need more than just the enabler. You also need the means to exactly to keep going. Like if you're running Grim Snarl, you're gonna be looking at or Ninetales Alola, you're gonna be looking at some kind of screens-based offense, right? So you probably need a ghost type to prevent Brick Break, common move elected to stop that. If you're running sticky webs, you probably want a ghost type to keep the webs around. Now, having said this, Shuckle is only a 2-point mon. It's not a heavy commitment for Cam to bring.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily like the speed tiers aren't great, but webs is not a super necessity. You do have speed boosting options on the team. Dragon Dance, Zygarde, Rapid Spin, Terapagos, or Rock Polish, Agility, Megaladios. It could have been worse. That being said, I agree that the top end of the speed tier chart isn't super great, and there are also some gaps, like between 100 to 80 is a bit wide. But actually, Terapagos Terrestrial has 85, I think. So it's not so bad in reality. But yeah, faster top end. I would also like to see a better steel type.
Yeah, agreed.
The team doesn't like dragon types overall. I guess there's Togekiss, but
Yeah. I don't really love the Stealth Rock setters on the team. Like Terapagos, I love as a general Pokemon. I definitely do not love it as your primary rocker.
Paparaja gets Stealth Rock and then Shuckle.
Yeah. But again, not mons you want to bring all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think you're reliably keeping hazards off the field, so I don't even mind. I don't even mind that you're not particularly great at setting them. I wish you had the option just so your opponent would be more likely to run boots. Would be my main thing.
I do think that is an aspect that is maybe lost in some of these drafts, that you don't necessarily need to commit to an option in your builder, but being able to represent the option is already putting strains on the team building of your opponent.
Yeah.
And that is something that you actively want to do. You don't need to be able to bring all of your threats at once. You don't need to be able to threaten toxic spikes and sticky web and screens and whatever you got going on. But you, not at the same time, but having them available, each new thing that you add to your bucket list of threats means that your opponent has to make even further considerations.
Consider.
Yeah. And makes it easier for them to go wrong in their own builder. And I wish that this team allowed itself to present more threats.
I wish this team had a Grimmsnarl. You got Iron Hands, Terapagos, Slotty, Manaphy. Wish this team had a Grimmsnarl.
Yeah, do you think that, like, I see those as being already quite bulky offense. Do you think they would prefer the screens over more frail sweepers?
I think screens. I think screens. Well, especially Terapagos. I think if you let these, even though they are bulkier, if you give them that more, I think both benefit from screens. But I think if you give a bulkier offense screens, it then becomes almost impossible to break and allows it to set up to a point where it's breaking everything.
I think with that approach, the issue is that you usually sacrifice, in order to get that bulk, you've usually sacrificed some firepower, right? So it's easier to negate the offense in the short term by going for disruptive options such as roar or haze.
Whirlwind, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if I agree that screens would be the primary addition I would make to this team, but I see it as an option. That's fair enough.
I mean, the primary addition I'd put on this team is a fast breaker.
Yeah.
That would,
Yeah, I
that
think
would be the first thing
Yeah.
I'd do.
yeah. Maybe not so easy because those tend to be quite pricey, but
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. But I do think it's a valid critique. Like maybe swap out 100 base mon. You can probably find something other than Entei and maybe pitch the Manaphy, get a high-end fast mon, and then a slightly cheaper second mon to compensate for the other.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, you're probably not tearing the into anyway. You're going to tear your hands in 90% of matches.
Probably. One thing I do like, Togekiss gets Healing Wish, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I do think that this is you have 2 excellent Healing Wish targets, arguably 3, in Terapagos, Iron Hands, and arguably Manaphy.
Alrighty. Oh, Manaphy too, yeah.
Yeah. Latios, I think, is I mean, it's cool, but you
And it
got
can
to
heal itself.
yeah,
It can heal itself.
you got Roost.
Mhm.
But Terapagos especially, but also Iron Hands being that bulky boy that just doesn't like spikes very much.
Yeah.
I do think they are good Healing Wish recipients, so I do appreciate that specific vision. I think I mentioned the top end steel type. That would have been nice.
Yep,
No grounded poison. Graphite, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
that does count. If you need a Glimora bring, Graphia does count.
Yeah. It's fair
I
enough.
don't think Togekiss does get Healing Wish.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Are you on Netdex? I'm pretty sure it does.
I'll leave that to you.
Let me-
If it does, it's got a good vision.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, it does? Okay, then
Yeah.
my thing is wrong.
Fake host.
Yeah, my bad.
Mhm.
Is there any other highlights or concerns you'd like to point out before we move on?
I think it's good.
Never mind. My showdown was lying to me. It does not.
You're both.
We're
Okay.
both back.
Well, I'm the fake host. I'm the fake host.
Yeah.
He's the real host.
Fair enough.
Oh.
I think I'm ready to move. It's still a pretty good team. I think this has the potential to end up top half.
I think I'm lower on it than you are. I think the speed tiers are going to catch up to you. I also think it sort of falls. A lot of the mons fall into similar roles, and I think you want a wider spread of role.
Yep.
But maybe that's just me.
Yep.
Okay. Up next we have the Sydney Slagoos by Fine Ass Lettuce.
What a name.
Speaking of Nine Tails of Lola,
There, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I did see the team or the game that was played here, and I thought there was some creativity going on with Trick Room Teleport Mew to support Ursaluna. I thought that was a neat trick. Having said that, I think this team it definitely has some speed tier issues.
yep.
Top end kind of lacking in similar ways to the previous team. 111 Thunderous, nothing above that. Then you got 3 mons from 111 to 109, 2 mons at 100. It's kind of
And
cramped.
85 Mischievous.
Yeah. Mischievous won't use that 85 speed. Thwacky won't use 80. You can just, for the purposes of speed, you can assume those are not there.
Beartic 50.
I mean, Beartic won't use it. Beartic
No,
will either
no.
be in snow or it won't come. So its
Yeah.
speed tier is actually double that. But
Well, double
And
of
that's another
50 is
100.
not
no,
100.
no, right. I'm saying double its speed, not double its speed tier.
Yeah. Just for clarity. But overall, I still appreciate like the Rocker. You like flexibility, so I hope you're high on
Yep.
the Mew pick.
I am high on the Mew pick. Yeah, I like Palafin, Mew, Moth, Ursaluna, and Ninetales. Um, I think something. I think something. I don't think Thundy fits this team very well.
How
Type
so?
wise, yes. Type wise, yes. I think it's a waste of points for a role you already have filled in Moth. Or if you're running the prankster set, I don't think it's really that helpful here. I think your support is already covered in Mew, plus like Palafin support plus Bisharp. Um, and I just think it's a waste of points that could be used on something faster. I think you want something in the 120 range. Other than Beartic, obviously, which I think is equivalent of like Zera Aura speed tier when you look at +2. Um,
If you invest in speed, yeah.
yeah. Um, um,
The hazard removal is not great on this team.
maybe that's why I grabbed Thundy. For prankster defog. But yeah, you're right. It's Thundy Mew. Um,
Um, I think Palafin is obviously very strong if you can enable it. And looking at like what resist water, you got water types, you got thunderous for that. You got grass types, you got iron muff for that. You got dragon types, you got arguably Ninetale Solola for that. So you do have ways to enable Palafin within your top 6, which I think is cool.
I do like Thundy and Snow. To be fair, that
Yeah.
is pretty good.
Yeah, with Weather Ball, you got like Pseudo double stab. That's very tough to resist. Um, but yeah, I guess Bisharp isn't the best steel type in the world.
No, not ideal.
No.
Strevis is not the best. Well, you have Ninetales. I don't know why I said that. Uh,
And I do wish that the like a better Terra Captain could have been useful because this looks fairly top heavy, I would argue. Beartic, like, okay, you got Slush Rush Beartic, but
I love Terra Beartic.
it's cool as a secondary pick, but I have a feeling that it's going to be a primary Terra Captain here. And I don't
Probably,
think,
yeah.
yeah, and I don't think that's a position you want to be in because Beartic just doesn't offer enough defensively. And as it is, this team.
Why is the attack stat on Beartic wrong?
What do you mean?
What does it
Beartic has
say?
130 attack.
Guess,
Oh yeah, not 110. I don't know.
guess we'll have to
I
fix
just
that.
know that because I just know that because I love Beartic.
Are the other stats right? Everything else is right.
Yeah, everything else is right.
I guess it got a generation boost somewhere.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, um,
Are we worried about the defensive prowess of this team?
I am. I will say this team is like you got screens from Ninetales Alola. You don't have any ghost type except for Mischievous, which is incredibly fake. So it's not so easy
Yeah,
versus a well prepared opponent to keep the screens up. And I think that might be punished by skilled drafters or skilled battlers rather. Um, hazard options are kind of limited to Mew. And, Mew can do everything, but not at once.
Right, yeah.
So I do wish that Mew wasn't so heavily relied upon for those
I mean, just
instances.
maybe a more reliable defensive steal than Bisharp would help this team a lot.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
But
steel types get hazards too.
Yeah. I mean, Bisharp does too, but
it gets rocks, not so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
something. Yep. No rapid spin, which is a bit unfortunate, but I guess you're not really looking to stack hazards anyway, so whatever. A fair share of rock weeks. Like
Yeah.
Moth, Ninetales, Thunderous, all rock week. Don't want to run boots on at least on Ninetales. You ideally want to
You don't
run
want to run
it.
it on. You don't want to run it on Bear Tick either.
Yeah,
No.
true. So better hazard removal, I think, would be an upgrade for the team.
Yeah, I think this team is very set in its one plan, which makes it so that if your opponent plans for that one plan, it'll make it rough for you. I think if you make a few adjustments, this team could be an all-star team. I really like your first five, um, which doesn't leave you with a lot of points, but I think you can figure something out that'll work better. I also like Bear Tick. Don't drop Bear Tick. I love Bear Tick. Um,
I like Beartic too.
uh, I don't know. I like the team, but I think it has some obvious flaws that may hinder you.
Yeah, there's a very strong identity to the team,
Yeah.
and it does execute on the promise of the team quite well. It just needs to be slightly tweaked to be fulfilling its potential. I still think it's an upper half team out of the ones we've looked at.
I think I do too, yeah.
Any last comments, concerns?
Nope. I think
Okay.
we're good.
We're gonna move on to our very last team of the day, the Amazing Yoshi.
I think we're ending strong here.
Here we go. Make a hair across.
Immediately, I see Polt, Corviknight, like Polt, Ogrepone, Heracross, offensive core is very strong. Plus, you've got Obstagoon, which is a crazy breaker. Defensively, you've got Corviknight, Reuniclus, Tentacruel, which can wall the thing. Tentacruel plus Corviknight's an underrated defensive core if you have a good ground to cover that. Sandy Shocks is a good ground.
No. Let's not praise Sandy Shocks. Fraudulent
Are you
mod.
anti? Are you anti Sandy Shocks? You
I
don't like
am.
Sandy Shocks?
I do not like Sandy Shocks.
Oh, I
Okay.
love
No.
What's your problem with Sandy Shocks? I like Sandy Shocks.
I stick my grass type in your face.
And I volt switch.
Then I stick a ground type in it.
You can't stick both the grass. Are you a toad scroll or a torterra? You can't stick them both in my face.
That's what you think.
I like Sandy Shocks.
I think it's good at setting hazards and not so much of.
Much else.
No, I do think this team would have loved to actually have a Terra.
Mm-hmm. Do
I
they also not have a Terra?
no.
They do not have a Terra.
I
Terra,
think you
no.
could have skimped on the Mr. Rhyme and spent some Terra points on Sandy Shock instead.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, Terra Sandy Shocks is better because you actually get Terra Blast Ice.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think that you start off with a very strong first pick Dragapult. After that, your second best mon, according to the points at least, is a Corviknight. So I feel like where it's an immediate fall off. You want to have like strong threats, but Ogerpon Cornerstone is cool but kind of flawed because the typing is really not that great defensively, and most teams will carry in like because of the ubiquity of stealth rocks, you're gonna be seeing a lot of rock resists within a team's six, and
Mm-hmm.
grass is just not good offensively. Then you have Mega Hero Cross, which looks cool with 185 base power, but then you run into a fairy type, a poison type, or a flying type. All of those resist both of Mega Hero Cross stabs. So it's just too easy to prep for, in my opinion. And then Sandy Shocks, I mentioned my issues with. So overall, I think this team doesn't really have, like, if you don't look at it too closely, the offensive firepower looks to be there. But I don't think in practice it comes together that well. That's my primary concern. I think you need more solid breakers here. I think
Interesting.
Uh,
I think you and I are on opposing sides on both Mega Heracross and Obstagoon. I mean, you didn't say anything about Obstagoon, but I think Obstagoon, especially if he can sort of rearrange his points to Terra both Obstagoon and Sandy Shocks, I think that fixes a lot of the issues of this team.
yeah, that's fair.
Um, I think Mega Heracross. I think most poisons are getting two shot by Earthquake, and almost every flying type in the game is getting two shot by is either one shot. I think most are one shot or two shot by Rock Blast. Um, so I think fairies are really where it comes down to, and I think this team is probably weakest against defensive fairies. Is probably where I would try and figure out a better way to deal with them.
Yeah. You get 4
Um,
mons that are weak to fairy on your top 7. I say top 7 because Reuniclus and Obstagoon have the same cost. And your only resist within those top 7 is a Corviknight.
which isn't breaking very well usually.
So fairies do pose a non-trivial issue for this team, I would argue.
I agree.
Like your out of your 3 primary breakers, Dragapult, Ogrepon, Heracross, 2 of them have fairy types as excellent responses. And I do miss, like, when I'm looking at this, I don't see a great way to break the fairy types. I think that is a flaw of the team.
I agree with that particular flaw. Yeah.
Yep.
the
I don't know. Overall, I really like the roll compression of this team. I think pivots into the breakers are really good. I do like the defensive backbone of the team, with the exception of um, like really offensive electrics are probably not great. Um, but I quite like the team personally.
I'm
But
not so sold on it.
I do see the fairy problem.
Yeah. I think at the very least adding a Terra Captain or 2 would resolve some
For
issues.
sure.
I don't think 3-point Mr. Rhyme is worth not having a Terra Sandy Shocks.
Agreed.
But you're correct.
I don't think Mr. Rhyme is worth 3 points.
No, that is also a fair critique. I do agree with you that Obstagoon does present a solid offensive force that I didn't account for previously, which does up the possibilities there. I am still
It
not
is,
so.
of course, also weak to fairy.
Yes, which is an issue as we've covered. I don't think the special attacking force is that great. Dragapult, you know, it's a great Pokemon, but it's not necessarily because of its great special attack stat. Like 100 with, if you have a fairy type in front of it, you are relying on an 80 base power Shadow Ball. And
Yeah.
from 100 special attack, that's not superb. Then you have Reuniclus, which, okay, 125 special attack, it's good. But it's base 30 speed and it only has Psychic as its stab, which is quite easy to deal with from a defensive point of view. So I think that special and Sandy Shocks I listed my issues with previously.
But it does
Yep.
have 121.
It does.
Yeah, but it's not so hard to account for. I find it fairly easy to deal with Sandy Shock stabs. So I think that there are some issues on the special attacking side of things here. It's not as bad as it could have been. Dragapult is still incredible. Draco Meteor is still super strong. But yeah, I think that there are some issues. I think, Rocker, if I were to guess, you would place this in the upper half of the bracket.
I think I would place this in the upper half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I would probably place it around the middle. Because there is potential, but there are flaws, and I think the flaws might end up holding the team back a bit too much. But that's what the weeks are for, right? To see how things play out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Any last thoughts or opinions you'd like to share?
I was gonna say no rapid spin, and then I remembered Tentacruel.
And
Yes.
Mr. Rhyme.
That is not real. That doesn't.
No,
that is not real.
we are both in agreement that Mr. Rhyme is not a real mon.
Okay. That is the last team in this flight. Any overall thoughts, concerns?
Thank you for hosting this. I'm looking forward to observing the games as they progress over the season, and I'm curious to see who will come out on top.
Yeah, I think this was a lot of fun. I hope the Sinnoh coaches enjoyed this. I think overall we had some pretty good teams, and I think y'all drafted pretty well, especially considering you're the fourth flight out of five. I think these are some good teams, and I'm looking forward to watching how the season plays out.
If you have any critique against our review, feel free to ping the corresponding person and let us know why we're wrong.
Yeah, and I forgot my disclaimer. Your opinion on your team is more important than ours. If you like your team, keep using it. That's the most important thing in Draft League.
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.